from Esperance Luminesca Fuercina with alien-like body modifications.
The percentage of my body covered in tattoos is 99.98%.
To Natasha Crown, sporting what she calls the world's biggest bum.
The goal is to have world's biggest bum.
Here are 10 women who have undergone such dramatic transformations through cosmetic surgery and body modifications that their appearances have become truly unlike anything most of us have ever encountered. Let's start with the renowned Catwoman, Jocelyn Wildenstein. Jocelyn Wildenstein. Meet Jocelyn Wildenstein, a woman whose pursuit of a cat-like appearance earned her the nickname Catwoman and made her a fixture in tabloids worldwide.
Have you had many procedures?
You know, I think plastic surgery is the way you keep your skin.
Okay.
Born in Switzerland, she married into incredible wealth when she wed Alec Wildenstein, an art dealer and heir to a massive fortune built on art and thoroughbred horses. But Alec had a particular passion that would eventually shape Jocelyn's destiny. He was absolutely fascinated by big cats, particularly lions and tigers. As their marriage began to deteriorate in the 1990s, Jocelyn reportedly decided to undergo cosmetic surgery to appeal to her husband's love of felines. What started as an attempt to save her relationship quickly spiraled into something far more extreme. She underwent dozens of surgical procedures over the years, spending what many estimate to be millions of dollars in pursuit of her feline transformation. The procedures were extensive and dramatic. Multiple facelifts stretched and tightened her skin to create that characteristic taut appearance. Eye lifts gave her the slanted, almost alien-like eyes that became her signature feature. Cheek implants created unnaturally high and prominent cheekbones that jutted out from her face like those of a big cat. Her lips were enhanced repeatedly, creating a perpetually pursed expression that seemed frozen in time. But Jocelyn didn't stop there. Reports suggest she even underwent skin pigment darkening procedures, attempting to achieve a more exotic, cat-like coloring. The cumulative effect of all these surgeries was startling. Her face took on an otherworldly quality that seemed to exist somewhere between human and feline, between reality and fantasy.
How many procedures would you say you've had?
Not like people think, because I take a good care of my skin. I have a flawless skin.
It is flawless.
Yes.
The irony of Jocelyn's story is that her transformation failed to achieve its original purpose. Not only did her surgeries not save her marriage, but Alec reportedly found her new appearance disturbing. Their divorce in 1999 was bitter and highly publicized, with Jocelyn receiving what was then one of the largest divorce settlements in history, $2.5 billion, plus $100 million annually for the next 13 years. Despite the enormous personal and financial cost of her transformation, Jocelyn continued to maintain and even enhance her cat-like appearance long after her divorce. She became a regular fixture in New York society, often appearing at high-profile events where her unique look never failed to generate attention and whispers. Sadly, Jocelyn Wildenstein passed away in 2024 at the age of 84 from a pulmonary embolism, closing the final chapter on one of the most extraordinary transformation stories of our time. Valeria Lukyanova. Valeria Lukyanova, known worldwide as the human Barbie, has created a look so doll-like, so perfectly artificial, that many people initially believed her photos were digitally manipulated rather than real.
Я себя люблю. Все мы стремимся к идеалу.
Valeria's journey to becoming a living doll began long before she achieved international fame. Growing up in Ukraine, she developed a fascination with the aesthetic perfection represented by dolls, particularly Barbie. But unlike most people who might admire Barbie's impossible proportions from afar, Valeria decided to make those proportions her reality. She underwent breast implants to achieve the unnaturally large bust that has become her signature feature. But perhaps even more dramatically, she may have had ribs removed to create an impossibly tiny waist that measures just inches around, a proportion that seems to defy human anatomy. However, it's not just surgical procedures that created Valeria's doll-like appearance. Her daily routine involves hours of meticulous makeup application, transforming her features into something that appears almost animated. She uses colored contact lenses to create those enormous, otherworldly eyes that seem to stare out from her face with an almost hypnotic intensity. Her makeup techniques are so sophisticated that they effectively reshape her entire face, creating the illusion of features features that exist somewhere between human and manufactured perfection.
Мне всегда очень нравилось экспериментировать над своей внешностью. Я очень любила разные макияжи. Вот, поэтому, конечно же, это стало моим любимым занятием на долгие годы.
Valeria's influence on social media and popular culture has been enormous. Her photos have been shared millions of times, inspiring countless debates about beauty standards, the role of technology in creating idealized images, and the psychological motivations behind such extreme transformations. Pixie Fox. Pixie Fox's dedication to becoming a living cartoon has resulted in one of the most dramatic body transformations ever attempted. Pixie's inspiration didn't come from real-life beauty icons or fashion models.
Since last time I was here, I had more than 20 plastic surgery procedures from my quest to become a living cartoon.
Instead, she found her muse in the exaggerated, impossibly curvaceous animated characters like Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Holly Wood from Cool World. These characters, with their tiny waists, enormous curves, and otherworldly proportions, captured Pixie's imagination in a way that would ultimately reshape her entire existence. What followed was a transformation so extreme that it defies belief. Over the course of several years, Pixie underwent more than 200 surgical procedures, each one designed to push her body further away from natural human proportions and closer to cartoon perfection. The centerpiece of her transformation was perhaps the most shocking. She had 6 of her ribs completely removed to achieve a waist that measures just 16 inches around, smaller than many people's necks.
I have invented my own procedures. So I'm the only girl in the world ever to do a eyelash transplant with my pubic hairs. I was the first documented case in the world ever to remove 6 of my ribs.
But the rib removal was just the beginning. Pixie underwent 4 separate breast augmentations, each one increasing the size and projection of her chest to create the exaggerated bust-line characteristic of animated pin-up characters. Her jaw was reconstructed to create a more delicate, feminine profile. In one of her most unusual procedures, she had surgery to make her ears more elfin and pointed, adding a fantasy element to her already extraordinary appearance.
I never really felt human. I always felt more like a pixie, like a fantasy creature. And I traveled far to be able to achieve this look.
The attention to detail in Pixie's transformation was remarkable. She had eyelash transplants to create longer, more dramatic lashes. A Brazilian butt lift enhanced her posterior to complement her tiny waist and large bust. Every aspect of her body was carefully sculpted to create the hyper-exaggerated, disproportionate features that define cartoon characters. But perhaps the most dramatic moment in Pixie's transformation journey came in 2019 when a surgical complication nearly ended her life. She fell into a coma following a procedure, facing the very real possibility that her pursuit of cartoon perfection might cost her everything. This life-threatening experience served as a wake-up call, forcing her to confront the risks she had been taking with her body. The public reaction to Pixie's transformation was as extreme as the procedures themselves. Some people viewed her as a pioneer, admiring her commitment to her artistic vision and her willingness to push boundaries that others wouldn't dare approach. Others saw her transformation as a cautionary tale about the dangers of taking body modification too far. Amanda Lepore. In the glittering world of New York nightlife, few figures have been as iconic or influential as Amanda Lepore.
How many surgeries have you had?
I had my nose done, my eyes tilted. I had
Eyes what?
Tilted.
What does that mean?
Like just to make them more almond.
At just 19 years old, she underwent gender-affirming surgery, taking the first crucial step in a transformation that would continue for decades. But this initial surgery was just the beginning of what Amanda would later describe as her life's work, the ongoing creation and refinement of her physical self as a form of artistic expression. What followed was a series of surgical procedures that would reshape not just Amanda's body, but her entire presence in the world. Multiple breast augmentations created the dramatic curves that would become part of her signature silhouette. Facial feminization surgeries softened and refined her features, while rhinoplasty sculpted her nose into a delicate, refined shape that perfectly complemented her overall aesthetic.
And then I had my breasts done 3 times, and my behind, and
You got a booty?
a booty.
Yeah. A booty implant? And then lips.
And lips, and
Is
I
that
got
a permanent implant
something-
or is that like collagen?
It's permanent.
But Amanda's transformation went beyond standard gender-affirming procedures. She underwent rib removal to create an impossibly tiny waist that would make vintage Hollywood starlets envious. Eyelid lifts created a more dramatic, doe-eyed appearance that photographed beautifully under the bright lights of nightclubs and fashion shoots. Lip and cheek fillers added volume and definition to her face, creating the kind of dramatic beauty that commanded attention in any room. The result of all these these procedures was a living embodiment of old Hollywood glamour mixed with contemporary high fashion sensibilities. Amanda's appearance was so stylized, so perfectly crafted, that she often appeared more like a mannequin or doll than a traditional human being. Her influence on transgender representation and visibility cannot be overstated. At a time when transgender individuals faced even greater challenges than they do today, Amanda's high-profile presence in fashion and nightlife helped normalize and celebrate transgender identity. She showed that transformation could be not just about surviving, but about thriving and creating something spectacular. Donatella Versace. As the creative director of one of the world's most prestigious fashion houses, Donatella Versace's own appearance has become almost as famous and controversial as the designs she creates. In the 1990s, she was known for her natural Italian beauty with the kind of Mediterranean features that perfectly embodied the Versace brand's sensual, glamorous aesthetic. She had flowing blonde hair, warm brown eyes, and the kind of effortless elegance that seemed to run in her family alongside their legendary fashion sense. But as the years progressed and the pressures of leading a global fashion empire intensified, Donatella began making changes to her appearance that would eventually create an entirely new version of herself. The first changes were subtle, as they often are in the world of high-end cosmetic surgery. A little Botox here, some dermal fillers there, the kind of maintenance procedures that are considered routine in the fashion industry. But over time, these minor adjustments accumulated into something far more dramatic. Multiple facelifts tightened her skin to an almost unnatural degree, creating a smooth, taut surface that seemed to reflect light rather than absorb it naturally. Her cheeks became increasingly prominent as fillers added volume and definition, creating sharp, angular cheekbones that jutted out from her face like architectural features. These enhanced cheekbones, combined with the tight skin from repeated facelifts, gave her face a sculpted quality that seemed more carved than grown. The overall effect was striking. Her face began to resemble a mask, perfectly crafted but somehow removed from the warm, natural features she had possessed in her younger years. Donatella's lips underwent their own transformation, growing fuller and more defined through repeated injections and enhancements. The natural Cupid's bow of her mouth became more pronounced, creating a perpetual pout that photographed dramatically under the bright lights of fashion shows and red carpet events. Her forehead became remarkably smooth, free from the lines and wrinkles that naturally come with age and the stress of running a billion-dollar fashion empire. Perhaps most dramatically, her overall facial structure began to change as procedures accumulated over the years. Possible rhinoplasty refined her nose into a more delicate shape, while eyelid surgeries created a more open, dramatic eye area. The cumulative effect of all these changes was a face that seemed to exist in a state of perpetual youthfulness, frozen at some idealized moment of beauty that defied the natural aging process. The reaction to Donatella's transformation was immediate and often harsh. Fashion critics and the general public began comparing her appearance to a wax figure, noting the smooth, almost artificial quality of her skin and features. Others suggested she looked more alien than human, with proportions and textures that seemed to belong to some other species entirely. The comparisons were cruel but persistent, following her to every public appearance and fashion show. Donatella has never been entirely forthcoming about the specifics of her cosmetic procedures, though she has admitted to not being natural. This discretion is typical in the fashion industry, where the goal is often to achieve a perfect appearance while maintaining the illusion that such perfection comes effortlessly. Maria Jose Cristerna. From the world of high fashion, meet Maria Jose Cristerna, known worldwide as the Vampire Woman, whose transformation represents one of the most radical departures from traditional appearance that has ever been documented.
Tengo 46 modificaciones corporales, tengo el 99% del cuerpo tatuado y tengo aproximadamente en lo visible e invisible aproximadamente 50 piercings.
Maria Jose's journey began not with a desire for attention or artistic expression, but as a response to trauma and a search for personal power. A former lawyer living what appeared to be a conventional life, she found herself trapped in an abusive domestic situation that threatened to destroy her physically and emotionally. The woman who would emerge from that darkness would be literally unrecognizable from the person who entered it. The most immediately striking aspect of Maria Jose's transformation is her tattoo coverage. An astounding 99% of her body is covered in intricate, dark artwork artwork that tells the story of her journey from victim to empowered survivor. The tattoos cover not just the obvious areas, but extend to places most people never consider. Her scalp, her face, inside her mouth, even her eyes carry permanent ink. But the tattoos are just the beginning of Maria Jose's radical transformation. Her forehead sports titanium horn implants that give her a genuinely demonic appearance, rising from her skull like the horns of some mythical creature. These aren't temporary accessories or theatrical props, they are permanent modifications that required surgical implantation and have fundamentally altered the shape of her head. Her mouth tells its own story of transformation. A forked tongue, achieved through a splitting procedure, allows her to speak and eat in ways that most humans cannot. Fanged dental implants replace her natural teeth with sharp, predatory points that complete the vampiric aesthetic she has embraced. The piercings that cover Maria Jose's body number in the hundreds, creating a constellation of metal that catches light and draws attention to every movement she makes. Ear expansions have stretched her earlobes far beyond their natural size, creating space for increasingly dramatic jewelry. Eye tattoos add color and design even to the most sensitive parts of her body, demonstrating the extent of her commitment to her transformation. Scarification has added texture and design to areas where even tattoos couldn't achieve the aesthetic effect she desired. Subdermal implants create raised patterns under her skin, giving her body an otherworldly topography that seems to belong to some creature from mythology rather than a human being. Each modification builds on the others, creating a cohesive whole that is simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. Her transformation has brought her recognition far beyond what she could have imagined. She holds multiple world records for her modifications, including records for the most body modifications on a woman. Today, Maria Jose runs her own tattoo studio where she helps others begin their transformation journeys. Clients come to her not just for tattoos, but for the deeper experience of working with someone who truly understands the power of using one's body as a canvas for personal expression and healing. Esperance Luminesca Fuerzina. Next, we have Esperance Luminesca Fuerzina, an army veteran who has quite literally transformed herself into a living work of art. Esperance holds not one, but multiple world records that speak to the extraordinary extent of her modifications. She holds the record for the most tattoos on a woman, with an astounding 99.98% of her body covered in intricate artwork.
The percentage of my body covered in tattoos is 99.98%.
To put this in perspective, this means that virtually every square inch of her skin, including areas most people never consider tattooing, has been transformed into part of a larger artistic vision. But perhaps even more remarkably, she also holds the record for the most body modifications on a woman, with 89 separate procedures that have altered virtually every aspect of her physical form. Her scalp, face, tongue, gums, and even her eyeballs carry permanent ink, demonstrating a level of commitment that few people could imagine pursuing. But the tattoos, extensive as they are, represent only part of Esperance's transformation. Her tongue has been split, creating a forked appearance that fundamentally changes how she can speak, eat, and express herself. Subdermal implants create raised patterns under her skin that give her body an otherworldly topography. These implants, strategically placed to create scale-like patterns on her scalp and arms, make her appear more reptilian than human. The effect is startling. Her skin seems to have texture and dimension that defies normal human anatomy. Tissue stretching has altered the natural proportions of various parts of her body, creating spaces for increasingly dramatic jewelry and modifications. Facial piercings number in the dozens, creating a constellation of metal that frames her features and draws attention to every expression. Genital piercings add another dimension to her modifications, affecting even the most intimate aspects of her physical being. Perhaps most dramatically, she has undergone nipple removal, a modification so extreme that it fundamentally alters one of the most basic aspects of human anatomy. This procedure, combined with all her other modifications, creates a body that challenges every assumption about what human beings should look like.
I really like seeing what the human body is capable of, and that's drawn me both to be heavily tattooed and heavily modified.
The overall effect of Esperance's transformation is something that seems to exist at the intersection of human and alien, organic and artificial, beautiful and terrifying. Her appearance evokes comparisons to reptilian creatures, science fiction characters, or beings from some alternative dimension where the rules of human anatomy don't apply. Public reactions to Esperance's appearance run the full spectrum from fascination to fear. Some people view her as a living work of art, admiring the dedication and vision required to create such a comprehensive transformation. Others find her appearance disturbing or frightening, struggling to reconcile her modified form with their expectations of human appearance. Sahar Tabar. In our digital age, where social media can transform ordinary people into international sensations overnight, few stories are as complex and controversial as that of Sahar Tabar. This young Iranian woman gained worldwide attention for a zombie-like interpretation of Angelina Jolie that seemed to push the boundaries of human modification into genuinely disturbing territory. Sahar's rise to internet fame happened with startling speed. Photos began appearing on social media showing a young woman whose face appeared to have been surgically altered to an almost unimaginable degree. Her cheeks were gaunt and hollow, as if the flesh had been carved away to reveal the bone structure beneath. Her lips were enormous and unnaturally shaped, creating a mouth that seemed to belong to some creature from a horror film rather than a human being. Most disturbing of all were her eyes, hollow, sunken, and surrounded by dark circles that gave her the appearance of someone who had risen from the grave. The images were so extreme that many viewers initially assumed they had to be the result of digital manipulation, but Sahar claimed to have undergone 50 separate surgical procedures in her quest to resemble Angelina Jolie, though the result bore only the most superficial resemblance to the Hollywood star. Instead of achieving Jolie's classic beauty, Sahar appeared to have created something genuinely horrifying, a face that seemed more corpse-like than celebrity-inspired. The international media response was immediate and intense. News outlets around the world picked up her story, with headlines describing her as everything from a zombie Angelina Jolie to a living corpse. The images were so shocking that they generated millions of shares, comments, and reactions across social media platforms. People couldn't look away, even as many expressed horror or concern about what they were seeing. But as Sahar's story developed, it took an unexpected turn that would complicate everything people thought they knew about her transformation. The truth, when it finally emerged, was both more and less shocking than the original story. Sahar eventually admitted that the most extreme aspects of her appearance in the viral photos were the result of Photoshop manipulation and theatrical makeup techniques. While she had undergone some procedures, rhinoplasty to reshape her nose, lip fillers to enhance her mouth, and liposuction to alter her body shape, the truly horrifying aspects of her appearance existed primarily in the digital realm. The public reaction to the revelation about Sahar's methods was mixed. Some people felt deceived, angry that they had been fooled by what amounted to an elaborate hoax. Others admired her creativity and the skill with which she had created such convincing images. Still others focused on the injustice of her imprisonment, viewing her as a victim of authoritarian overreach rather than a perpetrator of deception. Lacey Wilde. In the world of extreme body modification, few stories are as simultaneously fascinating and concerning as that of Lacey Wilde. This glamour model's quest to achieve what she describes as an adult Barbie appearance has resulted in proportions so extreme that they challenge the very limits of what the human body can safely accommodate.
I've had 29, maybe 30 surgeries. So I have 12 breast augmentations, 2 tummy tucks, 3 Brazilian butt lifts, illegal silicone in my lips, 3 full body lipos, and an internal corset.
Lacey's transformation began with what might seem like a relatively modest goal, enhancing her bust size to improve her career prospects as a glamour model. But what started as a single breast augmentation procedure quickly evolved into something far more extreme. Over the course of multiple surgeries, Lacey underwent 12 separate breast augmentations, each one increasing the size and projection of her chest beyond what most people would consider humanly possible. The final result of this surgical journey is truly staggering. Lacey's breasts now measure LLL cups and weigh a combined total of 42 pounds, more than many small children weigh in their entirety. To put this in perspective, her breast implants alone weigh more than most people carry in a heavy backpack, except this weight is permanently attached to the front of her body, creating balance and mobility challenges that affect every moment of her daily life. But Lacey's transformation extended far beyond her chest. Her pursuit of adult Barbie proportions led her to undergo more than 36 separate surgical procedures over the years. Multiple tummy tucks refined her waistline, while extensive liposuction removed fat from areas where Barbie dolls are characteristically slim. Butt implants enhanced her posterior to create more dramatic curves, while nose and chin work refined her facial features to better match her idealized appearance. The physical challenges of living with such extreme proportions are enormous and affect virtually every aspect of daily life. Lacey cannot run. The weight and movement of her implants make any rapid movement not just uncomfortable, but potentially dangerous. Even sleeping presents challenges, as she cannot lie flat on her stomach and must carefully position herself to avoid putting pressure on the implants in ways that could cause damage or extreme discomfort.
This is why I can't sleep in my stomach, because my breasts are so huge.
Lacey embraces the adult Barbie comparison, seeing it as confirmation that she has achieved her goal of creating impossible doll-like proportions. But unlike the original Barbie doll, which exists as a static plastic figure, Lacey must navigate the real world with proportions that were never designed for human anatomy. Despite these challenges, Lacey has expressed intentions to pursue even larger implants in the future, with goals of reaching QQQ cup size, proportions that would be even more extreme than her current measurements. Within her own family, reactions have been mixed. While Lacey sees her transformation as a way to provide for her children, some family members have expressed concern about the health risks and the example being set. Natasha Crown. Natasha Crown is a glamour model whose single-minded pursuit of what she calls the world's biggest bum has resulted in proportions so extreme that they have fundamentally altered every aspect of her daily existence.
The goal is to have world's biggest bum.
Natasha's quest began with what she describes as a desire to feel more confident and empowered through dramatic curves. But what started as an interest in enhancement quickly evolved into something far more ambitious, the goal of achieving record-breaking proportions that would make her famous worldwide. Her bottom now measures an astounding 85 inches around, creating a posterior so large that it extends 6 feet wide when she's seated, fundamentally changing how she can interact with the physical world. The achievement of such extreme proportions required multiple surgical interventions over several years. Natasha has undergone 5 separate Brazilian butt lift (BBL) procedures, each one adding volume and projection to her posterior. These procedures involve harvesting fat from other parts of her body through liposuction, then carefully injecting that fat into the buttocks to create enhanced curves. The cumulative effect of 5 such procedures has created proportions that defy conventional understanding of human anatomy. But the surgical procedures represent only part of Natasha's transformation strategy. She deliberately gains weight before each surgery to ensure that surgeons have enough fat to harvest for the enhancement procedures. This intentional weight gain, followed by strategic fat removal and redistribution, represents a level of body manipulation that goes far beyond conventional cosmetic surgery.
I love having big curves. Everything needs to be big. I keep pushing boundaries. I like everything that is extreme. I love surgeries, and I will keep going to that. I'm Natasha, and I'm growing my bum to be over 100 inches.
The financial investment in Natasha's transformation has been substantial, totaling over $150,000 in surgical procedures alone. The practical challenges of living with such extreme proportions are unlike anything most people could imagine. Natasha cannot sit in normal chairs. Most furniture simply cannot accommodate her 85-inch bottom safely or comfortably. She has broken multiple pieces of furniture, from chairs to beds, simply through normal use. Despite these challenges, Natasha continues to pursue even more extreme proportions. She maintains a rigorous daily exercise routine designed to maintain her overall health while supporting the massive weight of her enhanced bottom. Her commitment to fitness demonstrates an understanding that such extreme modifications require ongoing maintenance and care to prevent serious health complications. Her story raises important questions about the nature of body autonomy and the limits of personal choice in physical modification. While many people might question the wisdom of pursuing such extreme proportions, Natasha's transformation represents her own vision of empowerment and self-expression. The challenge for viewers is to separate their own aesthetic preferences from their respect for individual choice and bodily autonomy. And with that, we've come to the end of this deep dive. For more juicy content like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the cards showing on your screen for more videos. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below.